February is full of flowers and lots of relationship talk. But whether you're single, married, or dating, just remember you're right on time. Sometimes it feels like everyone has it all together in their love lives, but the truth is, we're all still figuring it out. Therapy can help. Get some outside perspective from a professional that can lead to new understanding and a lot less pressure on yourself. And remember, you're right on time. Visit betterhelp.com for 10% off. I have to share a new discovery. It's the most amazing undies and bras. It's too good to keep to myself. The Fits Everybody collection from Skims, it's like nothing I've tried before. I've never worn intimates that feel and fit like this. I love it. The way it molds to my body, the way it matches my skin complexion, it looks and feels like you're wearing nothing at all. I've been wearing Skims for a while. I recently tried the Fits Everybody collection, not exaggerating, life changing. And this Fits Everybody full brief is comfortable. Shop Skims Fits Everybody collection at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop down menu that follows. It's National Heart Month, and I've personally been thinking more about my heart health, especially given my family history. And what surprised me was how much I didn't know until I actually saw my lab results. That's what I like about Function. It doesn't tell you what to worry about, it shows you what's actually happening in your body. Function is designed by world-class physicians and trusted by hundreds of thousands of members. I love that Function gives you real information about what's going on with your body, your heart. I'm getting my heart in order and I want you to do it too. Own your health and start with your heart. Function gives you access to 160 plus lab tests each year, including advanced markers for heart health, inflammation, stress, hormones, and toxins for 365 days a year. That's $1 a day. Learn more and join using my link. Visit www.functionhealth.com/ratchet and use gift code RATCHET25 for a $25 credit toward your membership. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are watching a new episode of Ratchet and Respectable. Yes, we are back to watching this week. In case you're not actually watching now on the YouTube channel, watching. I'm back in Maryland, as you can see, especially if you're watching. I'm back in my studio with all the boxes surrounding me. This means I've still not moved into my actual home in Jersey. Another story for another day. But in Maryland, quick turnaround. I just wrapped Seasome Marrakesh. If you haven't been following the adventure, you should. I've been posting up a storm on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to see the adventures, I've been posting a lot, like on my main page, not just in stories. Like we did so much stuff, like camels and hot air balloon rides and Game of Thrones type dinners and supper shows and stuff, just stuff. We was outside in the Medina, on rooftops, in the sky, like just we were everywhere. So I've been sharing a lot of footage for Sisa Marrakesh. This is the first woo, of 6 trips for 2026. And I talked to my business partner while we were in Marrakesh. Marrakesh was like so perfectly wonderful, like dang near flawless trip. I was so happy with it. Wonderful group of ladies. We've decided to keep the party going for 2027. So we're talking about new dates, we're talking about new countries, new cities, new continents. In fact, in my perfect world, we have a north, south, east, west Africa situation. So we got Marrakesh in the north, we've got South Africa, obviously, in the south, Ghana in the west. We need something out east. Like, we need to see East Africa too, because those beaches, honey, those beaches are beautiful. And I want you to see them with me. So stay tuned. This spring, we'll be announcing the See Some World 2027 trips, which I'm really excited about. We have lots to talk about today. We are here for a good time, not a long time. Unfortunately, I won't be in the country very long. I'm just here for a quick stopover to literally switch out my bags, get a little bit of rest. I don't even think I'm going to have a chance to see Penny. Like, that's how quick the turnaround is. Everything is not ready and everything is not in order. But here I am talking to you today, and we have so much to talk about. The majority of our conversation today is about that Netflix documentary on America's Next Top Model. It's a good documentary, but most of the people in it, not so much the contestants, but like all of the production, including the host, including Tyra, don't come across so good. Not so good at all. Tyra actually comes across really, 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 really bad. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that with just a little bit of context, because Tyra deserves to be thrown under the bus, I think, for some of the things that happened on the show, but people are throwing her whole career away. And I was like, that's not fair. Like, ma'am did do good work. Ma'am was in fact, because people are trying to downplay it, was in fact a very big deal. She's mini black first. She is also a bona fide supermodel, not just top model, bona fide supermodel. I see people keep trying to take that status away from her. And I was like, hey, two things can be true. You could be a trash human, and you can also have like an incredible, astounding career as a model, which she did. Like, don't we don't have to do that just because we're angry with her for this documentary and some of the things that happened as a part of the show. And then, some of her personal social behavior. Like, how you do your people like that, sis? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Two housekeeping things. Thank you to everyone who heard me tell you that I hate you last week. I meant that shit. That wasn't just the liquor talking, which also many of you wrote in about the liquor. People were like, hey, so can we like set up a fund for you to have two lychee martinis before every episode? I said some things last episode. I was tipsy. I can't even lie. You can hear it. I was tipsy when I recorded last week. Like, I had work to do, but also I had just wrapped like a really long trip where I was on for like 7 days straight, like nonstop, to be present for my ladies, which is the job. No complaints. But like after they departed, they were safely on planes headed back to America. I did I did some sips. We stayed at Nobu Hotel. There was a Nobu in the basement, and they had lychee martinis. And the bartender, I mean, they cost a ton of money because alcohol is just really expensive in Morocco. But like they had a heavy pour, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I no regrets, no shame, no shame. But my mom did say something to me about a particular line in last week's episode. She's like, all of it was just pretty silly until, the part about the penis in somebody's mouth. But did I lie though? Did I lie though? No. The man don't know good taste. And what I don't need to repeat it. But here's the funny part. Because my studio is in my parents' house, right? So my mom sees me setting up the studio, and so she was like, "Oh, you're gonna tape today?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so she was like, "Oh, okay." And then she was like, "I was headed to the store. Do you need anything?" And I was like, "No, I'm good." And she was like, "Oh, okay." And she was like, "Do you want me to get you anything?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "But you're recording, right?" You know, that lady went to the store and got me 2 bottles of Prosecco. That is not what's in this cup. This is iced tea, not Long Island. This is iced tea and lemonade mixed together. It's a nice Arnold Palmer. I needed a little pick me up. I needed more than just water. I have to have something because I'm talking so much. But this just it's just tea. There's actually something in the cup. There's no joyful juice in the cup. Just everything I can drive and operate heavy machinery after I finish recording the podcast. Just FYI, we have serious things to discuss today. And not so good news. We need to talk about Essence. This is not something I delight in. It's news. It's in the zeitgeist, and it must be discussed. It is what it is. Um, Essence, it seems, is having some financial woe. NOLA.com, reputable news, credible news, out of Louisiana, New Orleans news is reporting. Um, they've reached out to the convention center, and they have, I guess it's Freedom of Information Act, some such, but they've reached out to the convention center and they asked for records, receipts, literal, regarding Essence's account with the convention center. And according to the convention center, I mean, and when I say the convention center, this is the convention center where, if you've ever been to Essence Fest, they hold the big activations. So, like last year, like Target was in there. When I used to work it was Walmart. Several companies, McDonald's, like all like the big title sponsors have these big activations. You understand what I'm saying? But in the convention center, and so Essence, according to NOLA.com, owes, or at the time of publication, owed, I think it was over $450,000, either 456, 458. But let's go with the safe, over 450,000 American USD dollars and dineros. And so they published the story, and then after the story came out, the convention center reported that they had received a check for 50,000 additional dollars from Essence. So the current balance is somewhere around $400,000. So the concern is that this money was due within 30 days after the event that Essence had ended. So we're talking July 4th of last year. Let's just push it to 6th, 7th, 8th. Let's say the weekend ran long. So somewhere in like early August, 30 days, net 30 is when the money should have been paid. And now we're in February, which is, let's see, September, October, November, December, January, February. We're 6 months behind, and there's still $400,000 due. And so I would imagine that it would be challenging to plan the convention center or even book it for the upcoming Essence Festival if there's an outstanding balance from the previous Essence Festival. Now, I'll be honest with you. I called over to Essence folk and I was nosy and I just asked. I said, hey, I don't know details. I was like, are y'all actively planning a festival for this year? Like, are you planning to do a convention center? Let's get real specific. And the answer I received was, I was told yes. I asked, because you got to ask. People ain't got to answer me, but it's my job. I ask the questions, right? So I asked, I said, do you have any acts booked? Because I saw someone online talking about it and they were like, Essence hasn't booked the goddamn thing. And I was like, surely that's insane. I mean, although nothing has been announced and we're headed into March, April, May, June, July, 4 months out from a major festival. Folks need to, plan their summer, like buy their tickets, get their hotels before the prices spike. There needs to be, used to have early bird packages when you signed up early. Like I used to literally work the festival, in the planning and also like on the stages. Like, okay. So I was like, well, is there anyone booked? Like, and I was told, Demetria, please. And that's all I got. So I don't know if that's a yes. I don't know if that's a no. I don't know if that's you asking too many goddamn questions. But I also know I didn't get a name of anybody booked. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I hope it is the case that folks just ain't trying to tell me inside business. I hope that is the case because I very much would like to go to Essence this year. I was down in New Orleans not so long ago. I told you I had a family member that passed away. That was not, even though I was happy to see my family, obviously not a joyous occasion. I would like to go back to New Orleans and spend time with family, but also just, act the fool in the streets. Let's keep it 100. Like, I'm ratchet and respectable. Also, in addition to, same article, another organization or company maybe is saying that Essence owes them 1 million American USD dollars and dineros. There's a balance of 1 million from the previous festival that Essence has currently not paid. Hold on, let me source that real quick. Got to go to the phone. Got to go to the phone. I swear I'm sober. It like entirely. Like over 24 hours. I haven't like touched a sip of anything. I probably will though when I finish because my mama bought me Prosecco. Okay, it says here, reading on NOLA.com, halfway down in the article, Essence also owes a local production company. That's what I was trying to figure out. I couldn't remember what kind of company it was. A local production company, 1 million USD dollars and dineros. And that's according to a source familiar with the situation who asked not to be named to avoid upsetting business relationships in the city. Oh dear. The article also that points out a more of an issue. I was just thinking about the convention center, but the article points out that Essence Essence officials are preparing, like in earlier years, to ask the state legislature for funding for the 2026 festival. According to a state representative, it says the vendor payments issue could make securing the state money more difficult. And they requested that Essence officials come to Baton Rouge to explain the delayed payments if they want to secure more funds. And the representative said, this is Jack McFarland, he's a Republican. He says, any event that doesn't pay its bills after we give it funding, that's a problem. I don't care which event it is, that doesn't matter. Now, usually, I like to tussle with the Republicans. I don't like to agree. But Jack has made a point here. If I already gave you money and you not paying your bills, you can't pay your bills, why am I gonna give you more money? I see where Jack is coming from. Also, this is fair to read. It says in a prepared statement, Essence officials said the city of New Orleans and Essence Fest are, quote, extremely dear to each other as partners. And they added that last year's Essence Fest generated an estimated 46.2 million in tax revenue. And they said that they value their relationships. This is Essence speaking again. We value our relationships with the city, the state, the convention center, and our vendor community. And we continue to meet our obligations as we settle 2025 and are deep in planning for the 2026 festival with all of our core vendors returning for 2026. Does that mean Target is back? I'm gonna leave that alone because they got to pay bills. That's a tricky one. Essence said the payment to the convention center is part of a formal agreement. I think that's referring to the 50,000 that they just sent. And oh, they also disputed. They disputed that the festival owed a local production company more than 1 million, but they did decline to say how much it still owes vendors. I saw a lot of folks talking about that online, and they didn't have the source for it. I thought it was important. Like if you're going to accuse folks of owing money and how much money, you could at least, and also somebody went and did the reporting for this. So I think it's, a journalist at heart. Does this count? I don't know because I say crazy shit. That's not the point. That's not the point. The point is I want the best for Essence. I want the best for Essence Music Festival. And I also want folks who, if you read something and something's crazy, you read it from a legitimate source, like journalism, especially Black journalism, is having a really hard time right now. Go ahead and cite your source. Go ahead and post a link to the article. Let the people who went and did the reporting, the editors, the reporters, all that, the whole team, the photographers, everybody. Let them get the click. Like help people stay alive. Like your click, just like what you choose to watch on TV. We about to go there in a second. Is a vote. It's not just going to the ballot box. It's not just sending in your mail in ballot. Where you choose to shop, where you choose to source for your information, what you choose to watch on TV is all a vote, a yay or a nay, if you choose to participate or not. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Look, February full of flowers, candy, stuffed animals, and of course, lots of talk about relationships and dating. And no matter where you are, whether you're married or dating or single or just focusing on you, you're right on time. Therapy can help you find your way and see more clearly where you want to go. BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the U.S. And what I love so much about BetterHelp is they do the matching for you. If you're unhappy for any reason, you can switch to a different therapist at any time. Easy. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 6 million people globally. I love that. I love how easy BetterHelp makes it to access professional counseling. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/ratchet. That's better, HELP.com/ratchet. I have to share a new discovery. It's the most amazing undies and bras. It's too good to keep to myself. The Fits Everybody collection from Skims, it's like nothing I've tried before. I've never worn intimates that feel and fit like this. I love it. The way it molds to my body, the way it matches my skin complexion, it looks and feels like you're wearing nothing at all. If you haven't tried the Fits Everybody collection from Skims, this is your sign. I've been wearing Skims for a while. I recently tried the Fits Everybody collection. Not exaggerating, life changing. It feels like I don't have anything on. I went out and replaced all my undies ASAP. I just be gliding around. I have the Fits Everybody full brief. You know I like a large panty. It's my thing. We've talked about it. This is my go-to everyday undie. I have it in the nude that perfectly matches my skin, and I also have several pairs in black. I'm not really a color girl. It's not my thing. But my thing is comfort. And this Fits Everybody full brief is comfortable. Shop Skims Fits Everybody collection at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop down menu that follows. So, about this Tyra documentary. Netflix just dropped like literally yesterday, Monday, recording on Tuesday, middle of the day. Netflix just dropped this new documentary about America's Next Top Model. I think it's called it's called Reality Check Inside America's Next Top Model. I get the feeling because it's not actually called like Surviving America's Next Top Model. I get the feeling that this is a new series on Netflix that's going to do deep dives into the behind the scenes of reality shows. That's going to be ugly. Just prepare yourself because behind the scenes of reality TV is 10 times messier than anything that you see on camera. And America's Next Top Model is a great example of that. Some of the things that you've heard about what goes on behind the scenes on housewife shows, for instance, is really, really messy. So brace yourselves. It's gonna be bad. Talk shows too. Also, I think it's important to note here that this is not the only America's Next Top Model documentary. Apparently, a bunch of people had the same idea. There is another documentary coming down the pipeline, I think in March next month. I think it's on E. That's also going to explore America's Next Top Model. And some of the people that were featured in this documentary, the Netflix one, are also going to be featured there. And then also some other folks. Janice Dickinson, I think, is on the E one. I'm not so sure. I also think it's important to note before we discuss this documentary, Tyra, contrary to popular belief, including my own, because I think when I mentioned this documentary was coming on a previous episode, I guessed, I thought I was making an educated guess, apparently not, that Tyra was an EP on this documentary. She, in fact, had nothing to do with the creation, the producing, any of that. She decided to sit for a documentary that was already in the works, and she was one of the last people to sit. I think it was Mr. J. Remember, I couldn't remember his name last episode. Who, by the way, I done thought this man was Latino for 20 years. And turns out he's South African. I just knew in my heart of hearts that that was a Latino man. He's apparently colored from South Africa. And I was like, who knew? I mean, other than like him and his whole family. I didn't know. I just knew. His name is Jay Manuel. Don't that sound Latino to you? I'm saying. Not Latino. But I think it was him. I think he was the one that was like, we were all shooting and ready to go, and we thought Tyra would be a great addition, but this was not a Tyra project. And according to Netflix, Tyra sat for the show, but she didn't see a final edit. She saw the show, the documentary, at the same time as the rest of the world. So I would love to see her publicist text messages right now. Whoever that publicist is losing their goddamn mind. I hope that somebody had the good sense for Tyra's sake. Because she's, however you feel about her after this documentary, and a lot of people are just like, you're trash. I don't necessarily disagree with that. She has worked very hard, whether it was ethical, moral, or legal at all times. That's a whole nother story. But she has worked very hard in her career to achieve the things that she has. And as I said previously, we were speaking about her. She does have significant achievements, not just the amount of money that she's raked in, but she's opened a lot of doors for Black women as a model, as a businesswoman, and even in some instances for people who were on America's Next Top Model. There are absolutely success stories from that show. There are also horror stories. I don't want everything that she's built to crumble, but she needs to manage this situation expeditiously because she looks terrible, terrible in this documentary. And it's not just her, it's she looks bad. The executive producer for the show, I think Ken Mok, he's one of the creators. Like she first went to him. He also did Making the Band. That's why she went to him to produce the show. He looks terrible. The Jays, I mean, one J, God blessing her. I'm not sure how Miss J. You know what? Miss J goes by Miss J. Let's call Miss J her. Um, Miss J, God bless her. She isn't in good health. Good spirits, I would say, but not in good health. We'll talk about that in a second. But also a participant, probably the least problematic of everyone, because no one directly calls Miss J out and says, yeah, like, said some crazy things. The stuff that's included in the documentary isn't too crazy. And many of the contestants like speak about how much they love him, but also love Nigel, also love Mr. J. But they all come across really bad. Like there were instances of sexual harassment at best, sexual assault, seeming rape, which nobody actually calls it. But I was like, if she can't consent, then if she's blackout drunk, then she can't consent. And if she can't consent and she's having sex, like we have a word for that. No one seems to want to use it, which is very strange, but okay. Maybe legal. I'm sure legal was all over this thing, both the documentarians and then also the people who were included in the documentary. Where do I want to start with this? Everybody looks really bad. No one takes real accountability for the serious harm that they did. And some of it was like really serious, some of it was really harmful. People give like a general, like, I think Mr. J says several times, you know, he was gobsmacked, like going back and looking at some of the things that they did. He might have said at some point that, you know, expressed like real regret, but it wasn't over like the big stuff. It wasn't over like Kenya complaining about sexual assault, or Shandy, who was sexually assaulted, and the whole thing was filmed, and production just sat there and watched and filmed and followed her from room to room and didn't intervene, and then aired it and then misconstrued it. We'll talk about all of that. But everybody looks really bad. Everybody else managed to come across as human. Tyra, I don't know what she was thinking with this documentary. Like she shows up looking like a bit disheveled. She has on this weird trench coat. I didn't understand like the lack of fashion and the fashion choice. Like it's a show, you're a supermodel and it's a show about your, like, you know, your big thing that earns you the lion's share of your money. Like, and you're going into it knowing that people are mad at you and you're perceived as the villain. You should have showed up like tricked out. You should have come on screen and you should have been stunning. And she seems very committed to the idea of being the villain. So I'm like, well, if that's what you want to be, show up dressed to the nine, show up with everything laid, everything beat, everything tweaked, everything cinched and snatched, and all of those things. Like, if you want to play the villain, be the villain. But it's like, she's robotic and stilted and aloof and condescending and seems to just not take anything all that seriously, and also seems to be like, oh, I don't recall, oh yeah, sure, yeah, okay, yeah, like no preparation for the documentary. Like at one point they ask her like, what was the, you know, most difficult time on the documentary, and this is after we've discussed a woman who's, you know, seemingly been sexually assaulted on the show, and Tyra's like, I really have to think about that. I don't know. And then the producer like suggests something that happened with Tiffany, i.e., the clip where she's like, "We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you." And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's it." And it's kind of like, well, okay, like, yeah, I'll go along with it. Like, girl, what? Like I don't understand like the demeanor she chose to take for this. Like, ma'am, you're also an actress, and a decent actress at that. Like, act like you give a fuck. No, no. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I have so many thoughts and I have a whole lot of notes. I'm gonna have to keep referring to my phone. So I apologize in advance if my head is like down in my phone as I'm like reading and thinking about things. But I took meticulous notes and I watched the documentary both all three parts twice in order to be able to talk about it coherently on the podcast with you. So America's Next Top Model has been off the air since I think 2018, something like that. It had a 15-year run. So the obvious question is, why are we discussing it now? It's been 11 years. Like, why are we having this like nostalgia throwback? Middle of COVID, everybody sitting home bored, watch TV till TV goes off, and was like, we need something else to watch. Everybody starts binging America's Next Top Model. They're looking at it through the lens of 2020 versus the lens of, especially the early seasons of the early 2000s, which admittedly I lived it. It was a different time in some respects. A lot of the documentary people keep referring back, people refer to, well, back then and it was a different time. And it's like they rely on that to excuse their lack of action or their bad decisions. And it's like, well, okay, yes, in some parts, in some ways, it was a different time. But in some ways, like wrong shit was still wrong shit. Like it hasn't been that long. But people start rewatching, binge watching it that the episodes back to back to back, and they're just like, WTF, this shit is crazy. America's Next Top Model is Tyra's brainchild. She's this massive supermodel. She gets all of the stereotypes that come along with being a supermodel. She's also, I think, in her early 30s when she comes up with the idea for America's Next Top Model, which, in supermodel years is ancient, especially for the time. Now you see people who are much older, you see people with different body sizes, a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, more diversity than you did back then. But Tyra is aging out of being a supermodel and wants to do more, do something else. She's not ready to throw in the towel and just, go into, I don't know, has been hiding or whatever. So she comes up with the idea for the show. She goes around and pitches it to all the major networks, and they're like, no, not doing reality, because at the time, reality still has a really bad stigma. She goes to UPN. UPN is a failing network. They just desperate for anything. They're like, sure, let's, take a shot at it, throw it at the wall, see what sticks. First season of America's Top Model is a bona fide hit. Saves the network, literally saves UPN. America's Next Top Model goes on to, if I remember the stats correctly, I think it was airing in like 180 countries, over 100 million viewers. It ends up with spin-offs in various countries around the world. It is a ratings juggernaut. And more importantly, it's making millions and millions and millions of dollars. They do season one, it goes crazy. They're like, can we do this again? Season two goes crazy. UPN is like, hey, we could do this twice a year. We ain't got to do it just once. Like, let's roll this thing out because everybody's making money. Let's all get paid and do. So you end up with, I think, 24 cycles of the show over the course of 15 years. That's a lot of TV. Tyra, and I'm giving you this context because I think Tyra deserves to be villainized. Yes, for some of the things that she did during the heyday of the show. Some of it is just inexcusable. I think what I find most inexcusable, which is the crux of my critique of this documentary, is she doesn't seem to have much sincerity, regret, understanding, compassion, humanity in 2026 for the stuff that she did way back when. So it's one thing to make a mistake or make bad decisions, because some of this was a mistake. Some of this was like willful to do harmful things, to misconstrue, which is part of reality TV, but they took it way too far. There's a way that decent people handle their bad decisions and their mistakes. And they just flatly just own it. Like what I did, that wasn't right. And I know I can't go back and undo it, but to do over again, obviously I wouldn't make that same choice. And I would never do that now. With timing, counseling, God's grace, thank God I am not now the person I was then. I, God, I feel bad about that. Whoever you harmed, that person deserved better. There's a way to just take accountability, even if it's like a PR thing, right? But there's a way to take accountability and to genuinely just own what you did, and people would move on from it. The issue is not that it was 20 years ago, it's that in the current time that you're not being accountable. The issue is not that it's 20 years ago. Like in this moment, people that you harmed 20 years ago are still hurt, are still dealing with the repercussions of things that happen on your watch. And I think the thing that really gets me about Tyra is that you want to remind people when it's convenient of all that you've done and all the doors that you've entered, all of your accomplishments, you being the black first, how you're like this boss chick, you're a Harvard chick, you run these businesses, you make this money, like you're that chick. But heavy is the head that holds the crown. Like, yes, you get the accolades, but you also have to deal with the bullshit too. Like that's how it works. Like that's the trade-off. Tyra only wants to deal with the accolades, and it's like, no, you got to deal with the bullshit too. You caused real harm, and these people are coming up. These women are coming back, and they're saying, "This is what happened to me when I was on your show." Like your name is on the title. You want to tell everybody like this is your brainchild, this is your baby, and you accomplished all these things. You the show was airing in 180 countries and 100 million people were watching, and you did 24 cycles of the show over 15 years, and it saved UPN, and everybody got paid, and all of that. Like okay, okay, okay. In the documentary, somebody says like people made all this money off of the dead dreams of all of these girls. You sold these girls' dreams, you fucked them up, and then you sent them on your way while cashing your checks. That's not okay. That's not okay. And now that you're being called to account for it, you just don't want to be bothered. But that's part of the headache that comes with like, being that boss. Which I'll give Tyra this because I want to speak about it, even though I'm clearly not the biggest fan of hers in this moment. She just did some really disgusting shit that like we're just learning about. Tyra didn't seem to have as much control over the show as she likes to boast. And I say that because of her conflict with Janice Dickerson. Like, clearly, she didn't like Janice Dickerson. It was good TV, but Janice Dickerson was clearly not a Tyra pick. In the early season of the show, first season, in fact, literally the head of CBS, he and Tyra get into it because Tyra wants the show to be more diverse. They've got one black girl, Ebony, and the head of Viacom is like, that's diverse enough. You don't need no more. And she was like, no, no, no. Like we need a Latina too. Like we need to have more diversity. Like the key to this show being a success is including people who are never included. It's the Fenty idea before it's Fenty. It's we're going to speak to a population of women who exist, who want to be seen, who are not seen, who are underserved, and if we can show them themselves, reflections of themselves, they will buy into it in droves and did. Even though every time someone does it, they act like it's a new idea. But like diversity works. It's morally the right thing to do, but it's also really good for finances. I don't think this is also something that people latch onto when they're watching the documentary that this makes Tyra like especially irritating. It's like, and maybe it's a extension of what I just said. She likes to boast about how she's queen bee and how she runs everything and this is her project and her thing, but when it comes to being held accountable, she's constantly passing the buck. Like she's always like, well, oh, that was back then. Okay, yeah, but like, how do you feel about it now? Would you do the same thing now? Because that's what people really want to know. People want to know that you recognize that what you did was wrong and you have some regret and you can issue an apology to the people that were hurt by the choices that you made. When they ask her about Shandy, The show never refers to it as sexual assault or rape, and it's so odd. I understand perhaps why they didn't do it back then because they were trying to cover it up. But in the documentary now, it's like you describe a woman who was blackout drunk and then has sex with a guy that the producers invited to the house, and they just filmed the whole thing. And even after she says, like, I was blackout drunk, I don't remember, oh my God, oh my God, like they keep the storyline going. Like, well, you need to call your boyfriend. Well, at first they wouldn't let her call. They wouldn't let her call the boyfriend, and they wouldn't let her leave. And then when they realize she's really serious about leaving, they say, okay, you can call the boyfriend, but we have to film it, and then we also have to hear his audio on camera. So it's like she just got sexually assaulted while bunches of people in the house did nothing, including the producers who she thought would protect her, do nothing. And this is like a small town girl. Was she even 21? She might have just turned 21. She might have been younger than that. But the producers don't protect her. And then in her trauma, after being assaulted, they want to film her confess to her boyfriend, not that she just got assaulted. Like, it's trauma on trauma on trauma. And then she has to call the guy and ask him, did you use a condom? Do you have STDs? Apparently, they took her to the doctor because at that point they said, well, Mr. J says that. He said, well, we're responsible for her. You were responsible for her the whole time, not just when she had to go to the doctor after she was assaulted, raped. They failed that girl, and there's no way around it. And Shandy is a part of the documentary, and she tells like the full story. And hmm, when they ask Tyra about this incident where someone sexually assaulted, someone's raped on your show, Tyra's like, oh, well, that was production, and I'm not really involved in production. Ma'am, it's your show. You're the face of the show. It's your brainchild. You are the face of the fucking show. When something happens on it, you have to be accountable for that, even if you're not part of production. I don't be in the warehouse stuffing every t-shirt, but please believe when someone sends me an email and says like I didn't get my shipment or my shipment arrived and it was the wrong thing or it was damaged. I can't just say to you we're like I wasn't in the warehouse, I'm not part of production. Like it's literally my face on the shirt. I can't tell you like I don't know. You need to talk to production. Nobody want to hear that shit. I'm talking to you because I bought into this idea because of you. I showed up to be America's Next Top Model because of you, not because of the guy in production whose name I never heard of. I never saw on camera. I auditioned. I came to wherever I'm at because I trusted you. You can't sell yourself as a safe space and as a girl's girl and as a I want to build you and protect you and launch you and give you this great career and it's bullshit and I know it's bullshit. But some 21-year-old girl with a big dream from some small town working at Walgreens doesn't know that. And I get to some degree, like you have to have trying to clean it up, but you can't. You have to exploit people to get them to participate. But just letting some girl get sexually assaulted on your show, and when asked about it, your response is, I don't do. I wasn't in production. That's production. And then when you ask production, you ask like the HNI. Well, I guess not N A. Ken Mock is Asian. When they ask him, his response is, "No, well, we told everybody it's a documentary, and so we don't interfere. So we just follow. Like that's what we do with our cameras. We just follow the process, sir. It's a reality show. Stop trying to clean up what the fuck it is. You were actively producing scenes to cause reactions from the women and film them because it makes great TV. The whole way the guys end up in the house is because the girls are in Milan and the guys have mopeds. They've got to get around the city. They've got to go to auditions and look sees, whatever. So the guys, each one, the girls get on the back of a moped and they go drive around the city. The girls are back at the house minding their business. Somebody from production has the idea and says, hey ladies, would it be cool like the guys that drove you around the city earlier today, like they were really cute, they were hot guys, like how about the guys come over and have some wine, like would that be fun? Like you invited the men into the house, you produced it. You can't be like, oh, it's a documentary, we just no, No, you created the scenario. But he passes the buck, like, well, they knew, and according to the contract, and then they asked Mr. J, they're like, well, hey, like, you knew about what happened. Like, what are your thoughts? And he was like, yeah. So the girls had the guys at the house, and so we were off for the night. So I wasn't even paying attention. But like when I heard about it, like I heard that everything was filmed, but like we had a rule that if you go into the bathroom, the camera can't follow you there, like if it's just you. But because it was you and somebody else, then it's not just you anymore. And so the cameras just went and followed because, it's a documentary. So this woman was harmed. This woman was assaulted. This woman was raped. This woman is still to this day traumatized. She said after the show, she was out with her boyfriend. They tried to stay together after the incident, the assault. And she said she'd walk down the street and people would call her a slut or a whore. And the boyfriend was like, I can't take it. I can't do it. You ruined this girl's life. You altered the trajectory of her life. And the most anybody could say was, well, there was a rule about the bathrooms. Well, I don't work in production. Yeah, so it's a documentary and we don't interfere. No one takes accountability for what happened to her. It's fucked up. It's so fucked up. And all Tyra had to say was exactly what I said earlier. I wouldn't make the same choice now. I wasn't aware of it at the time, and when I found out, I didn't handle it like I should. Looking back with the full understanding of the situation now that I didn't have then, I definitely would have made a different choice. I'm so sorry. Everyone's so worried about being sued or potential lawsuit, or which I don't even know if the girl can sue. No one wants to take accountability for what happened to her. The girl was blackout drunk. She was like, "Oh, I drank like 2 bottles. Look, I drink, and I be drinking with South Africans. I can't do 2 bottles of wine, and I'm not like some 5'11", like I don't know, size zero." They did that girl so wrong, and no one says, "I'm sorry." And in the case of Kenya, she's in the middle of a scene on set, and it's her and I think 2 or 3 male models around her, and they're supposed to be like flirtatious, and they're supposed to be basically background. They're there to look cute, and the guy keeps touching her, and she says moaning in her ear, and she asks him to stop, and he won't. She's like swatting his hands away, and he keeps being aggressive with her, and she says to herself, what should I do? She's like, I think Tyra would stop the shoot. She would speak up for herself, and so she stops the shoot and she speaks up for herself and basically says, like, this man is groping me and it makes me uncomfortable, and please make him stop. And they're like, this is Mr. J. They're like, yeah, so we need to get this shot. And like, this is just part of life. Like you just need to, deal with it. And when Tyra addresses it on the show, she was like, you just need to be playful and flirty with him and tell him like, boy, stop that. Just whatever. So you could just continue with the shoot and like get your shot. It's like she stopped the shoot and told y'all, I am uncomfortable. This man is harassing me. This man is touching me. This man is assaulting me. This man is groping me. And no one did anything. And Tyra's response to her is like, sorry, boo boo. It's like a fucking joke to her. That's just the industry. It's if you started the show to make a difference, if you started the show to be inclusive and show different body types and different heights and different sizes and shapes and ethnicities and sexualities and all of those things, you want to challenge the status quo in appearance only. This shit happened to you, so you just feel like, oh, it should happen to other women. This is why people say like the greatest, oh, I'm gonna butcher the quote, the greatest proponents of misogyny, the greatest proponents of patriarchy are women. Men can't hold the line and enforce this shit by themselves. They rely on women to be against women, to not support women, to be their minions, essentially, to be the enforcers in hopes that they get a longer leash in the patriarchy. They get to tell other women like these are the rules that you must abide by. They're like a not a Martha, like an Aunt Lydia, Handmaid's Tale, if you will. Like Kenya deserved better. Ebony also deserved better. Season one, she's the sole black girl on the show. Tyra, you're supposed to be like the black chick in charge. You're the HNIC on the show. This is your shit, right? You running around telling everybody it's your shit. Okay, you got a black girl on your show. One black girl. She ain't really even got that much hair. They decide they want to give her like a straight Caesar, really a baldy. They put three patches in her head because these three white women, between the three of them, nobody has proper clippers and nobody knows how to cut this girl's hair. So she ends up with three patches in her hair. She's complaining about it. She's like, Tyra would never. Tyra must not know. Somebody, word gets back to Tyra. Tyra reaches out to her. She thinks, oh, okay, like Tyra's going to come and make this shit right. Tyra tells the girl she's ashy. The girl wasn't ashy. It's a black girl from Harlem. She grew up in a hair shop around other black people. Ain't no black woman in her right mind getting on national TV ashy. It's especially not a dark skinned black woman. Come on. Come on. She was like, Tyra called me ashy. And then Tyra paints her as, or Tyra allows the producers, either way, it's her shit, your name on it. Ebony gets painted as angry and difficult to work with and mean, like all of the worst stereotypes that everybody has about black women. And it's just like, she didn't do anything to earn that. Like it's not bizarre, it's reality and it's fucked up. You know what surprised me? Is that some of the biggest heart risk factors are genetic and invisible, and most aren't tested in a standard physical. It's National Heart Month, and I've personally been thinking more about my heart health, especially given my family history. And what surprised me was how much I didn't know until I actually saw my lab results. That's what I like about Function. It doesn't tell you what to worry about, it shows you what's actually happening in your body. Function is designed by world class physicians and trusted by hundreds of thousands of members. Health leaders like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Andrew Huberman, and Dr. Jeremy London support it because once you understand your health, everything changes. You stop guessing, you stop being reactive, and you start making decisions based on real insights. I love that Function gives you real information about what's going on with your body, your heart. I'm getting my heart in order and I want you to do it too. Own your health and start with your heart. Function gives you access to 160 plus lab tests each year, including advanced markers for heart health, inflammation, stress, hormones, and toxins for 365 days a year. That's $1 a day. Learn more and join using my link. Visit www.functionhealth.com/ratchet and use gift code RATCHET25 for a $25 credit toward your membership. Part three of the documentary. The show has been going on for several cycles. Mr. J is over it. He says that the photo shoots with the girls he no longer has control over. Like everything is as highly produced, is out of his hands. He doesn't like some of the treatment with the girls. And this is what him talking about wanting to quit the show and then saying that he doesn't like the treatment of the girls. It's one of the few admissions on the show where someone really acknowledges that what's going on is too much and too wrong. It's really important for me to say because Tyra is the only woman at the center of this, and she's taking most of the blame from viewers right now, not just because she's a woman, although there's always an inkling of misogyny, like America can't help itself, but like also it's her show. Mr. J gets less to me, even though he referred to what happened to Shandy as like a story point, and I was like, the girl was raped, at best, assaulted. A story point? I cringed. I literally made the cringe face when he said that. After so many seasons of this, he's like, you know what? This is too much. This doesn't align with where I am. This is not something I want to do. So he goes to Tyra. Actually, kind of. He and Tyra are besties, according to him. They've been working together forever and a day on the show, but also before the show. Tyra handpicked, invited him to be part of the show. They would spend the night at each other's houses, like the premiere of America's Next Top Model. She came to his house. They watched the show like they're super, super close. And they always had this pact that on the show, if something went wrong, then he would reach out to her directly, no gossip, no back and forth. So he comes to her directly as promised. He shoots her an email and basically says he doesn't want to do the show anymore. He wants out. Tyra takes 3 days to respond to him. And then when she finally does respond, it's 3 words. I think she says, I am disappointed. He hears back through his business manager or his lawyer. He says the show wants you to continue on and do one more season, so it's not like an abrupt exit. Can you do that? So he was like, you know what, don't really want to, but I've been with the show this long and it's my bestie doing the show. I'll stick it out and see what happens. So he says he hadn't talked to Tyra, hadn't heard from her, which he thought was really weird, but he's going to continue on the show, so things can't be so bad. He says they're sitting there on set for the show and he turns around to say something to Tyra and she just completely fucking ignores him. And he's like, are you kidding me right now? And he was like, she literally would not speak to him and didn't. Just refused to speak to him unless they were on set with cameras rolling. And he was like, "Oh, this is wild." He also ends up staying on. He was only supposed to stay on for like another season. He stays on, I think, for another 8 cycles. He said, and I was like, "Bro, what you still doing there?" It was a hit show, I guess. I hope the check was good. Nigel, um, Nigel, I don't want to give him a full out because again, like all of these people were present when things happened. And I think Mr. J actually says he didn't speak up because he didn't have the power to. And I was like, I'm sorry, that doesn't absolve you. I've been in situations where it's quote and unquote not my place, but shit is so wrong that I've had to say something, and at cost to my profession, at the risk of being fired, at the risk of being blackballed, at the risk of getting in trouble or losing money or whatever it is. But there are some times where it's just necessary to say, hey, not okay. Mr. J dropped many, many balls. I don't want to give him more credit than is due. I do just appreciate at some point that he at least tried to get out, even though he didn't go, but he at least verbally expressed like this doesn't align with what I'm trying to do. It's a small win, and I think it's a sign of how low the bar is here that like no one else seemingly did anything. In the case of Nigel, he does say that he spoke up once about Danielle. She won. I can't remember what cycle it was. I stopped watching the show by then. But Tyra had wanted her to close the gap in her teeth. And she refused because she was like, I like my gap. Like, I feel beautiful with my gap. Like, my gap is my thing and I don't want to close it. Tyra was like, well, if you don't close it, then you can't stay on the show. So basically, like, you gave up all this to come be on the show. It's the once in a lifetime opportunity, which it was being sold as. It wasn't quite really. But you have the possibilities of all this before you, and unless you close your gap then you can't stay. So she ends up closing her gap. The thing is still closed, like, to this day, and she didn't want to do it. And the craziest thing about that, she was like, you know what, I did what I was told to do. I played ball. I made the sacrifice. I did what I had to do in order to like achieve my dream. She ends up winning the cycle, and she was like, and nothing came of it. She was like, I got signed to the agency that, was promised to me. And she was like, they put me up in the model house. And literally, I went on no auditions. She was like, Fashion Week came and went. She was like, I walked in no shows. She said, I lived in the house with Chanel Iman, who I ain't got to explain to you who she is. She's a mega model. And she was like, Chanel's everywhere. And I was nowhere. And finally, like, Chanel asked on her behalf. And she was like, well, what's up with, Danny? Why doesn't she get booked for anything? And Danny's, and I don't mean this in any kind of shady way because she was a gorgeous girl then. Danny now is like OD beautiful. Like, how do you even exist type level? She should be a model. More so now even than then. But they were just like, well, oh, she's part of America's Next Top Model. So Danny says, like, at some point she has a conversation with Tyra, and Tyra's like, yeah. So she was fully aware of like the stigma of being on Next Top Model and how that actually hindered agencies from working with the girls from the show, including the winners. Like there are obviously some people who were able to defy that. I'm thinking of like Eva. I totally didn't realize in the documentary that Winnie Harlow was on the show. I thought Winnie just kind of came out of nowhere, but she was on Top Model. Yaya, Takara, I only really know the black girls, but like there's exceptions to the rule, but the rule is that people didn't want to work with reality stars, especially back then. Now I think people in general are more open to reality TV, but it was very much a stigma. And even now it's still not necessarily respected, but people respect the reach of the audience. That's really what it is. But people tend to think low of reality stars. It just even if it's like a competition show or something like that, they just do. And self included. So we're clear. I got stories. I don't tell. But Nigel said he actually spoke up about Danny and was like, "Hey, like we're gonna have this girl like literally like make a permanent, semi-permanent fix to her mouth, her face, her appearance, just to be on the show. Like you don't think that's too far?" They didn't. They didn't. And she said Tyra told her. She was like, "Well, yeah, I did know that the girls, that there's a stigma, and I saw you struggling, and didn't do anything." And Danny was like, "That's unconscionable. You got these girls out here like sacrificing themselves to be on your show. You're making millions, millions off the broken dreams of these young women. Like you're setting them up essentially to fail. They might have a better chance not being on your show. And you bring them on the show, you humiliate them, you give them permanent alterations, you don't protect them, you put them in situations that actually cause them real harm. In the case of Shandy and Kenya and Ebony too. Like you took a 22-year-old black girl who'd never been on TV before and didn't have a platform whatsoever. You hear my voice cracking. And you let her be branded as like some villain my heart breaks for her. That happened to me. I was 35 years old and I had a decent platform and I had an established career. I had a book behind me and I had enough bylines and enough, I think, of a platform. We didn't call it that back then, but a fan base like going into the show that I was able to like redeem myself from the way I was villainized. That never happened to me in my entire life. I'd never been painted as a mean girl. Like I'm not like a bubbly, happy, that's not my disposition either. But a mean girl, me? A- And then suddenly I'm on TV and like I'm a fucking villain. And then in real life, everyone's hostile with me. I didn't know how to handle that at like 35. I God bless Ebony. At 22, that would have destroyed me. It nearly destroyed me at 35. The stuff they do to these people and people who watch the show, even me, like watching the show, I'm talking about it in terms of like, forced physical alterations and not just like cutting your hair, but like sexual assaults. Like those are like the big things. But just like the regular girl that goes on TV, like Shandy, she goes and does the show. They did that girl so wrong. The levels of wrong for that. But like even the way that she's presented on the show is like, oh, she cheated on her boyfriend instead of she was sexually assaulted. They put this spin on it. And people keep saying that, like, they didn't know. Well, the cover up of it, the passing of the buck about it, is how you know they knew. The legalese in which everyone speaks around it and won't take any accountability for it, like a halfway decent person would, is how you know they knew that was wrong. The cover up, like Tyra coming in, like after the girls assaulted and wanted to have a conversation about like, cheating and infidelity and I don't know, controlling your desire and all this other shit. Like, no, y'all knew. Y'all actively knew. And then also aired it. That's the other part. Like, y'all aired the girl getting sexually assaulted. And then after the show runs, she goes out in the street and people call her a slut and a whore. Nobody prepares you for that shit. And I never heard anybody mention anything about like professional help or counseling or anything. Like no one helped that girl. And even now, like I keep seeing people online, people like, oh, I didn't recognize her. Like she looks entirely different. Like I never would have been able to recognize her. Because when she was on the show, I mean, it was 20 some odd years ago, and she's this tall, like very stick thin. She's very like twiggy waist. And now she's like, a fluffy woman. And I'm like, I wonder, I don't think it's so far fetched that like if she either consciously or unconsciously drastically changed her appearance with the weight so that people wouldn't recognize her. So she could walk down the street without someone calling her a whore or a slut because she was raped. That's it, because she was raped. And then, after it happens, years later, Tyra asked her to come on her talk show because Tyra, she's become this like mega, mega, mega A-list, mega, mega, mega popular, mega, mega, mega rich. And she has Shandy come on the show, and Shandy tells her, like, please don't air the video. Like, I've never been able to watch it. Like, it's so uncomfortable for me. Please don't air it. And she goes and sits on the couch, and Tyra airs it. And then Shandy won't look at the video when it's playing in front of an entire studio audience, a video of her sexual assault. And then when the cameras come back to them, Tyra says to her, she's like, I noticed you didn't look at the video. Why not? That's some sick shit. And people be like, oh my God, you're demonizing Tyra. I don't like the way people are demonizing Tyra. Tyra has demonized herself. And I don't like to say that about a black woman. On a previous episode, I don't know when I said it, but I still adhere to it. Black women right now are under assault more than usual. We catching it real, real hard in the culture, in the job market, just across the board. Like it's ungood. And so I said that, like unless you've done some real fucking up, like you got it, bruh. Like I don't have it in my heart to like just go in on just the regular ish that, it really ain't no big deal. Just people need something to talk about. I don't really have it. You got it. Hope you do all right. Like it's hard for everybody right now. But this shit, Tyra, just wrong. Levels of wrong. I started talking about Jay and then went down the rabbit hole of other wrong shit. So eventually, the network, this is Tyra's version, she says the network calls her in one day and they say they want to fire both of the Jays and then also Nigel, who have been with the show for like the entire run. This is like, I don't know, they've been there for like over a decade at this point. Tyra says the head of CW, they got a new person in charge. They called Tyra and said, we want to fire the three guys on the show. They say three of the hosts on the show. They say that the show has matured and the audience is leveling off, and so like we need to like mix it up and make it spicy, and so we're gonna fire the three of them. And Tyra says, well, it's just no sacred cows, no sacred cows. And I'm like, girl, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, these are your friends, these are people you handpicked to be on the show who have been with you the whole time. She was just like, well, like that's what they wanted to do. So I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. Any other time you're running around telling people you're the HNIC, but then when it comes to like actually taking accountability for shit that happened, it's like, well, bosses have bosses. It's literally what she says. Girl, what? The guys don't have a choice in the matter. Like they were told they're being fired. So they're like, okay, well, like let us go with our dignity. Let's do a big joint press release and we'll each have a quote in the release. So it just seems like we're all a big happy family. We've all decided to go our separate ways. And they're like, yeah, 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 for sure, for sure, for sure. And then they release somebody, everyone claims they don't know what happened. They don't know how it leaked. They release the information to page 6, which makes it look like the guys did something wrong. And the guys are very much like they wanted to create scandal, like anything in service to the show, anything to keep those ratings high, anything to keep the money coming in, including chopping three of the mainstays for the show. And kind of the only real reason a good chunk of the audience was watching, because after the show gets rid of the three of them, the ratings fall by 54%. And then the show goes into a spiral. They just throwing anything against the wall, trying to make it stick. Tyra, like her shit just gets more and more and more unhinged until finally they fired Tyra from her own show. Bosses have bosses. They fired Tyra from her own show and replaced her with a white chick. Ma'am, it's so wrong. And then on top of that, because everything that I said so far is not crazy enough, if you notice throughout the whole documentary, and then also throughout my whole recap, I talked about Nigel, I talked about Tyra, I talked about Janice, I talked about Mr. J. I haven't really said much about Miss J. She pops up in the documentary here and there. She'll have like a little one liner. But Miss J, when she was on the show, had one liners for days. Like Miss J and Andre Leon Talley are like one liner queens, right? All of a sudden, Miss J has nothing to say. So throughout the documentary, I noticed that Miss J was like very subdued, that the focus of the documentary was on Nigel, on Mr. J, on Tyra, on Ken Mott, the original head of CW, the woman. Like those are like the main players, and then also like the contestants of the show, right? But Miss J is not really saying much, and I was confused. Well, it comes out towards the end of part three that in 2022, Miss J had a stroke. I think was in a coma 5 weeks. Is that correct? And then when came to, could not speak, and I believe stayed in a hospital room for I think a year and a half is what's in the documentary. Don't quote me on that. Mr. J went to see Miss J. Nigel went to see Miss J. Tyra, who's known him the longest out of any of these people, Tyra said she met Miss J when she was 17 years old. She says it's the beginning of the documentary. She said when she was pitching this show, she pitched it to Ken Mock, and he was like, well, we need people. We gotta set this show. The first person Tyra thought of was, well, Miss J. Miss J taught me how to walk. Miss J is like this icon in the modeling world. Much respect for Miss J. So much love for Miss J. Tyra, in the year of our Lord, I'm gonna go ahead and guess this documentary was taped in 2024, 2025, maybe. Miss J's stroke was in 2022. She said Tyra had not been to see her yet. She said yet. And I was like, if she ain't been already, she not coming. You've known this person since you were 17 years old, who helped you build this empire that you're so proud of. Like, yeah, Miss J helped your show become what it was. Miss J was one of those people who was by your side since you were 17 years old. When you needed her to come in and I got this show idea and I want to do this thing and I'm trying to get out of just modeling. I don't want to just be like some has been. I want to do this big thing, like, whatever you're working on, can you drop that and come do this thing with me? He and did, and then didn't even bother to visit. They asked Tyra about her feud with Mr. J, and she just declined to speak about it. And she was like, "Oh, I should give a call. Like that's not something I want to talk about." Ma'am, again, did you know you was coming to like tape a documentary? Were you like running your errands and then your publicist was like, hey, you forgot you got something to do today. You need to swing by the studio and take care of this. Looking a little disheveled. I mean, not bad, but like something about the coat and then the hair was just kind of all over the place. The makeup wasn't quite right. She's a beautiful woman. Something off with her mentally, clearly, but like more off than I think we previously realized. Like she doesn't look pulled together. It's like something going on with her. And I'm not saying that as an excuse to excuse anything that she said. I'm just saying like she not right. Something not right. Tyra really disappointed me with this documentary. I've given her like the benefit of the doubt, just like, oh, I watched America's Next Top Model. Like it wasn't that bad. I don't remember it being bad. I don't remember it being that bad. I also didn't have the full information of what was going on. I only had the producer version that was shown on TV. We didn't have a concept back then of how much reality shows were produced. We thought that what we saw was actually all of what happened. Like maybe it was summarized or condensed, but we thought of it kind of like how Ken Mott tried to sell it. It's like it was a documentary. You're taking regular people and you're editing them to be these stereotypes. Like we didn't have a concept of that back then. We're smarter now. But I've given Tyra the benefit of the doubt because I watched it, and again, like without the full information of I didn't know that Shandy had been raped. I remember that episode. Oddly, what I remember from back in the day is her boyfriend calling her a stupid bitch. And I watched that again for the first time yesterday. I watched the scene when it came up in the documentary and I burst into tears. It's like that poor, poor girl. That poor, poor girl. She was no more than 21. Everybody around her is in there, everyone in charge at least, is somewhere in their like mid 30s at the time. Like your protection instinct should have kicked in. Make good TV. That's what Shandy summarized the whole situation as. Like my situation, my downfall, my pain, your entertainment. It made for good TV. That's fucked up. Yeah, Tyra deserves everything that she's getting right now. I hope she has a crisis person. I think I said this at the beginning of the episode. I hope she has a crisis person on call. I hope Judy, I want to say Judy Bloom. That's the author. Who's Judy? Scandal Judy. You know what I'm talking about. Judy. Crisis Judy. I hope Judy is available because she's going to need like the best of the best to get out of this one because this is wild. This is bad. This is real, real, real bad. I will say this in closing. I appreciated the way the documentarians, or at least whoever was in the edit bay, I appreciate the way that they treated the documentary because Tyra, towards the end of the documentary, goes on this like high minded, this Iyanla Van Zandt as soliloquy about how, like, I hope that when people come to you about your past and the things that you've done, I hope that you take accountability the way that I'm taking accountability, and I hope you grow the way I'm growing because we're all just trying to evolve. And then the documentary immediately cuts to Danielle being like, girl, bye. I think actually she says, does she say this is some bullshit? Whatever she says, it's completely dismissive of Tyra. And she was like, okay, we could stop here. But I was like, I'm glad like the documentary saw through her bullshit because that's really what it was. Like she took the only thing she took any real accountability for, like she did a general like, oh my God, it was so bad. There was so much craziness. But the only thing that she really took accountability for was I can't even say Kenya because I was like, like sorry, boo boo, and I was like, the girl got assaulted. Um, when she yelled at the young lady Tiffany, the full that the we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. The full scene wasn't shown, and whatever she said to Tiffany was so bad that the cast was. I mean, that the other judges were like they were shocked by what happened, and I was like, wait, was there more than what we saw? Apparently so. It was so bad. Mr. J says that the lawyers came to sit on set after that. And then after Tyra went on the rant, production came and took her away because it was like so like crazy and upsetting. And I was like, what all did she actually say? Because what she said, I don't know. Maybe because I have like black parents who have like freaked out before. Like, I'm not saying that's like the right thing to do, but I actually thought that that was an actual genuine moment from Tyra where it was like, black girl, you fucked up the first time you were on and we brought you back. And now you're not even giving your 100%. Like, I'm literally rooting for you. Like, and you're not meeting me halfway. Like, I see your potential. I see your beauty. I see you got everything going for you if you would just try and she couldn't. I don't even think it was a wouldn't or a willingness to. I think she couldn't. And Tyra flipped on her. And I actually thought Tyra was genuine in that moment. But apparently said she said some really crazy shit to her. Mr. J said he wouldn't repeat exactly what she said, but what Tyra said. But someone online, I've seen a couple people allude to it. She said something to her like, "You're gonna go back to the projects and sleep on a mattress with your baby," something like that. And I was like, that's wild. That should have been cut. Like that's wild, and that's really not some shit you say to people. I also don't think I remember that whole tirade was over her not wanting or being willing to read a teleprompter. I mean, she was out of her element. She was names she couldn't pronounce. She got the background that she had. She probably felt uneducated, stupid, not good enough. All of those things probably. That's why I said I don't think she could. I don't think it was not. I don't think it was a lack of willingness. I think her insecurities took over and just blocked her. I get it. I get it. I just forgot that whole tirade was over like a teleprompter, and I was like, was it that serious? Or that she got let go and she was like, you didn't take it seriously enough. You're not taking any of this seriously. And I was like, hey, last season that the girl got kicked off of because she tried to fight somebody. And behind the scenes, y'all like pulled her together, got her anger management classes and all of that. Like, aren't you happy that like she can receive bad news and not freak out? Wasn't that the whole point of the anger management classes? Isn't that a sign they worked? I don't know. Tiffany says she ain't shit. She actually called her a hoe, but neither here nor there. That's my summary of the documentary. Thank you for watching Ratchet and Respectable. We'll be back next week. I can't tell you if it's audio or video. I get on a plane to Cape Town on Thursday. I'm taking all my equipment. I have lights. Let's see what that load shedding look like. I'm staying in a new building. I think it has a backup generator. I hope it has a backup generator. We're about to find out. We'll figure it out. South Africa has stuff. If I don't have what I need, I can get it over there. That's a little easier than Marrakesh. All right. That's the episode. Thank you for watching. Talk soon. Bye.